The YouTube.
And we'll just sort of, I'll stammer, and that'll hopefully get people to enjoy. This is Comedy 101, an introduction to virtual events. I am Chuck Roy, and Stacy, I'm going to put spotlight for you and a spotlight for me.
Awesome.
And then now I'm removing spotlight for you. What happens out there on the YouTube? We're learning. This was a new feature that popped up yesterday during the ApocaLips comedy show. And what we're doing here is an introduction to virtual events. I'm Chuck Roy. You're at Comedy 101, watching on the YouTube, or hopefully reading this in the website. We sell tickets to our virtual events, and that's sort of what we've been talking about. That's Gladys, our cashier. You met her in earlier episodes, and Gladys likes to thank our VIP customers, and that's Stacy Sanders today of Elevating Connections. Stacy has been her charity is the beneficiary of my virtual events. I produce virtual comedy shows through Colorado Comedy Shows. I also teach comedy at a prestigious community college in the heart of Denver, and wanted to get a class going on virtual events. And we talk a little bit about elevating connections. We have in the past few courses. We missed you last week, Stacy, because of a holiday. And I think now would be a good time to just sort of refresh people on your virtual events, what is elevating connections, and how can people, who are in the nonprofit world learn from this, is kind of what we'll talk about later. But if you could now just tell folks about Elevating Connections.
Absolutely. I missed being here last week too. So Elevating Connections, we are celebrating 5 years of reuniting siblings separated in foster care and raising youth voice through spoken word. And now this fall, we're adding in comedy and art and song. So we work with youth. I know, I'm so excited. Comedy.
It's exciting.
It is exciting. So we reunite siblings in care through a variety of activities throughout the year, including a camp that we did day camp instead of overnight camp because changes in 2020 due to, a little pandemic. And then we did virtual this year for our writing workshops for our poetry jam. So, and we've done virtual fundraising because that's what we have to do. We have to pivot.
Right. We just had a meeting about your upcoming virtual fundraiser, so like less than an hour ago, like everybody else in the world. We're Zooming all the time. And that's sort of what we've been talking about in this class and during the comedy shows and such. So what I want to do is we'll keep talking to you. I'm going to share your website again so folks can, if they're so motivated, go directly there, learn more, donate and such. And then we'll recap just a little bit of what we've been going over in Introduction to Virtual Event Production. And today is going to be just a quick look at budgets. And this video really supplements the blog article and is hopefully meant to, the whole course is sort of meant to answer a question: can one of the youth from Stacy's charity put on their own virtual event? So we've been looking at this. You're looking at the Comedy 101 Virtual Event Center. We discussed previously. I'm the one who mows the lawn. I get out there with a ruler, a straight edge, a square, and I make sure everything's at 90-degree angles. That's on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Wednesdays and Fridays, I sort of go through the ivy and keep it just on those windows.
And then, gorgeous.
Right. I've been using Zoom to teach things like comedy for a few years now. And in the pandemic, we suddenly got into let's use Zoom for shows. And that seems like it's going to be continuing for another year at least. So we got to saying, let's just put together a class for the most basic, like, can a kid who does Stacy's Poetry Jam and learns that their smartphone can connect them to Zoom, can they set up a Zoom event and put on a show? So we previously have examined that through the 5 steps of virtual event production. In step 1, we talked about getting started with your virtual event. In step 2, we looked at virtually effective pre-production. So first, we put together a general information sheet. Kids at the college, the prestigious community college where I teach now, just went through that lesson and produced their own virtual event general information sheets. Just a simple thing that's like, hey, it looks like a memo. Who, what, when, where, why is the event? And then we took that and got into pre-production, set up our event. Last week, we talked a little more about rehearsal and, oh God, Stacy, it was, we just, nothing was working right. Who knew? And we got a pretty good example of how to just sort of keep motoring through an event. And we had a really good conversation about with Lana Melendez, a professor at the prestigious community college where I teach, and she also coaches and teaches at the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. And I wanted her to talk about devising, which is the idea of coming up with a play, and essentially we talked about any event. Can you put on your own event? So I'm watching kids in their college class, and they're already like ready to put on the event they dreamed of in step 1. And I'm starting to be like, hey, slow down. You can't sell tickets on behalf of the school without some permission. So today we're looking at step 4, which is, I skipped over real quick, what to do after you successfully produce your virtual event. So in the blog article, you can go to comedy101.chuckroy.com, and this YouTube video will sit in there. And they sort of go together. Watch the YouTube video, read the articles, and you'll learn a little bit about how to produce your event. And you'll follow along about Annie, and I'll talk about her in a bit. But inside the blog article today, you'll learn a little bit more about just what to do at the end of your event. And I always say it's thank you. Just step 4, post-production. We all know it. If you know what pre-production is and production is, you know what post is. So I try to remember step 4 is like, just say thank you. Get out there and thank the audience. When I'm at a live show, and that has translated to virtual events, we hang out at the end of our comedy shows and try to provide a way of saying thanks. And I noticed that any good corporate event we've put on, we always have to take a little extra moment to just hang out with everybody, talk, and hear what they have to say. And then next time we'll go into step 5, which is evaluate the success of your virtual event. Stacy, I was working on that blog article earlier today. It's just totally nerdy, all metrics, like just metrics. So today is just all numbers, no fun, because what I want to do is look at a virtual event budget and see if we can't just share a tool. And I have a budget that's up on the blog, so you can click on a link, go right to a Google Sheet, and download your own event budget. So there's little Annie Jokley and her event. Annie is a character we've spoken about earlier in other courses, but just to remind people, and Stacy, I'm going to sort of loop it to you. She's based on a young lady I saw at the virtual poetry jam and was like, what if this girl was like me, charming, funny, but more importantly, like I've always been, since I was a kid, like going to put on a show. I have my brothers and sisters to support me in that. And in your charity, the heart of the matter is the brothers and sisters are separated by the foster care system. So when they get together for something like a poetry workshop, it's a world of good for them. And then when that escalates to a poetry jam, my God, it really gives them a chance to share their voice. Can you, while we look at Annie and her idea for virtual pub theaters, just sort of recap, what's it like for youth in the foster care system? And, when someone is like, I want to put on a show, is that easy for the youth? Or can you speak a little about how that might not be so easy for the youth?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the challenges that, and there's many that youth in foster care face, and then youth who are emancipated out of the system without finding a permanent home also face. So we work with all ages that way. Is really how to get started and have support, right? So a lot of times the opportunities that are afforded kids who are not in foster care are not given to the youth who are in care because they move placements or they don't have a steady person in their world to say, hey, this person, this kid, this young person is so funny and so smart and has creativity and there's something they can do with their voice. And in our case, we created the opportunity through our writing workshop program to let the youth speak their truth. And now what we're finding, Chuck, and you are seeing this with the youth that we work with and some of your students, is that they have a lot to say, but they also want to produce their show and do it their way. And so giving them the opportunity, this is how we give them the opportunity, elevating connections, found them, put on a virtual jam or a regular poetry jam in person, a virtual jam with your help. And now you're creating these classes and this opportunity for them to say, yeah, I can do this.
Right.
Just giving them an opportunity and giving them a step-by-step and a way to do it. They'll take it from there.
Right. And so I want to get into just the most basic, like nerdy stuff, because we get to, we talked earlier in step 2 about how to write clear instructions. We have checklists. We've already rehearsed and put on some of the show. But what we really want to get to is, what does it cost little Annie or someone to put on a show? And how would she know whether or not she made some money? So what I'm going to do is just recap what happened, what you've seen in the blog article. We'll go over what Annie spent a little bit, and then we'll come up with a pretty easy solution for what can she do to keep track of her expenses and such. So there's me. I'm happy on the stage, and there's little Annie. I guess we're doing a little dance.
She's ready to go.
And the idea is to do virtual pub theaters and the virtual pub theater battles as a show. And we want to look at, can we sell tickets? And so we've put tickets on sale. We've got the rehearsals, some tickets. Now we're looking at like what happens after the show, and some ticket sales have happened. So we'll go over to the Comedy101 Virtual Education Center, and we'll get, cruise into it. Probably need to get to a classroom. This one here is my favorite.
Sure.
Gold leaf on the ceiling. It's look, your money well spent, folks. What can you get for a free online class? But gold leaf on the ceiling. And so just to get us right to, or 20 minutes later, right to step 4 of post-production on the virtual pub theater battles. So here's Annie. She's at the ticket vending machine. Everything's done. So now she's running some, probably time to run a box office report.
Yep.
So the box office, that's where the ticket sales happen. So let's take a look at box office sales. And so this is coming from the blog article, but if you're watching along on YouTube, hopefully you'll be able to just sort of do the math on your own notepad, or I'll show you a fancy budget in the Google. I believe, and I said, we spoke about this in the earlier class, Stacy, but I want to just sort of reinforce. Kid in your program decides, let's put 4 or 5 of us together for a poetry slam and charge $10 a ticket on Eventbrite. Possible, impossible? What are you, crazy, Chuck Roy? Why would you ever do that? Could a kid in your program sell $10 tickets on Eventbrite?
Heck yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So we determined that earlier, but I want to recap for people who might be coming in on this video. In the example in the blog article, and let's just talk about that for real. Annie's got some friends at school, $10. Could 6 friends buy a ticket? That might be, maybe she's with a foster parent and it's working out. And they have a family member who says, yeah, I'm buying a ticket, little Annie. Or Stacy, is it possible for a little girl like Annie to have 6 friends who might buy a ticket for $10?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So move on. And I think a student at my community collage,
Mhm.
I think that I can look them right in the eye and they'd be like, I'm scared of that. So am I,
Yeah.
selling
Yeah.
6 tickets, but I do think it can happen. I don't think we're setting an unrealistic
No.
example here. And so with a little bit of sales effort, putting the tickets out there, just on Eventbrite alone, that gets pretty good Google search. I think it's a stretch, but why not? 2 people buy tickets to the virtual pub theater battles.
Yeah.
So not too unbelievable, but hey, I wouldn't, if you're brand new and just getting in the game, I wouldn't be all like, I'm going to sell 100 tickets. Plan on 7,
Yeah.
15, or it's your first event. You're not buying a home, you're just trying to learn how to put an event. So there are some costs. Again, these are recapped in the blog article. The Eventbrite, when I sell tickets to Colorado comedy shows, we pay the fee. It just, during the pandemic, I thought simple. $10 ticket is a $10 ticket. $25
Yeah.
ticket is a $25 ticket. If I have to, if I eat the price, then I just have to do math and figure that out. If the customer has to, is suddenly surprised that a $10 ticket is now $12.19, I, I think that's a bit much, and
Yeah.
might cause the customer to lose trust in me long term. Stacy, any thoughts on that? Like, you sell tickets for your charity events, and we donate 10%
Yeah.
of ticket fees. So, but sometimes we take out Eventbrite in
Mhm.
previous incarnations of the math. That's a lot. $2 out of 10.
Yeah. It is. Um,
Uh, but would you add the charge, or would you eat the fee?
so for me, it's a no-brainer. And there's the option on this one of the sites we use, and I think even on Eventbrite, I'm not positive, but you can answer this, where you can let them choose if they want to pay the fee,
Oh,
and
really?
the customer choose.
I gotta look that back up, because that, on the general admission ticket, that might be a little more sensible, because,
Yeah.
again, the customer in the arts, they do have some desire for the money to land in your lap.
Right.
Especially in the performing arts and at the level of someone like Annie.
Right.
So, but I wanted to get a little brief discussion and not shock people. Like, Eventbrite's going to charge you for the ticket fee.
Yeah. Because
PayPal,
they have operating costs, right? So they have to, in order to provide the service, they have operating costs that they have to cover.
PayPal's going to charge you. You can
Yeah.
watch comedians do this all day, debating
Yeah.
which service, and somebody will snidely yell, "Oh, I use this one," and they'll tell you it's perfect, but what you want to ask is, like, does it have trust? That's why I like Eventbrite for today. That might change
Right.
tomorrow by the time you're watching this, but today the customer trusts Eventbrite. Now
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it. I don't even have to worry about how to, sell to people, or,
Right.
convince them that I'm using the right service, because they're using their credit card. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be involved in credit card security, so I can save 0.8% in the eventual math. Like, anyway, enough said. You discuss it at home amongst yourselves. Stacey, in the blog article, I wanted to come up with at least one cost.
Yeah.
I don't think Annie is. Maybe she's going to pay her friends. I think that's a decision they can have after we look at the budget. But so I invented. She got excited somewhere during the performance and broke one of the smart light bulbs. $9 has to
Happens.
replace it. So um, we'll quickly look at the math here. 6 tickets to friends at $10. That is $60. 2 tickets to new people, that is $20. And so the total, we could pause if you need to. Pause. You do the math at home. Pause the video and do the math if that is where you're at. $80, right? We're there. So I'll pause and get to the question one more time, Stacy. $80. Do you think it's possible for a little Annie Jokley, any of the youth in your program? What about foster care programs in other states, other countries who might hear about this one day when they're at a conference with you? A youth in Boston, could a kid, in Boston sell 8 tickets on Eventbrite, $80?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
folks at home are saying, I bet people are like, I could do $10,000 in sales. Sure, you knock them out, Tiger. We're
Yeah.
going to look at the costs in a bit, and I'm going to break out a budget. But we're just about the halfway mark of the stuff I want to cover. So I just want to point out Elevating Connections again. And Stacy, maybe if I can get you to speak about your charity a little bit more. You have events coming up.
We do.
So in your events coming up, can you tell us a little bit about the annual event and the birthday party that I know is coming up?
Yes, so we're super excited. Our annual event, which is normally an in-person event, but we had to pivot. And so we're doing a virtual annual fundraiser on October 16th that we're super excited about. And Chuck is our MC and helping produce the show. So it's going to be fantastic. We are selling tickets for it. We are raising money for my organization, and which, as we talked about, Reunite Siblings Separated in Foster Care, which if you think about the siblings that you were raised with or people that you are considered to be siblings, and the impact of what it would feel like to be separated from them after being removed from your home, it's incredibly traumatizing. And so we work to alleviate that through our fundraising events and our virtual event coming up on the 16th, which I think is going to be a huge success, even though we had to pivot and do it virtually.
Right. So this was where we met last year.
Yes.
We were like, what? The event was at a golf course or somewhere kind of swanky, a place where folks who are like, let's bring it up here from the youth to now let's talk to the folks who might be producing events that, are colleagues of yours, Stacy, people who stuff where there's a wine and cheese basket for auction. Okay. A silent auction. That was happening before the pandemic. And as a comedian, about once or twice a year, I know that there's some strength to bringing my voice to 1 or 2 charity events a year. And that has me, I learn about how to help with things like folks, you got to do more bidding on the silent auction thing, and then there's charities that I, care a little less about that convince me to be at an event. Sometimes we sell fundraising events. If you're trying to raise money for your softball team, I'm charging you to get a fleet of comedians in there, and then we're going to donate a piece to Stacy. But we'll help you with your baskets and your wingdings and such. What is it, like Stacy, we've got to do a cash grab. I've seen those before at virtual events, or sorry, at in-person events. But my God, virtual. Can you speak for a moment about those types of things that you were shifting to the virtual world? What did people used to expect at a charity function, and then how do you think that's going to work out this year?
Yeah, so when you're in the room for a charity event, there's the excitement of being in the room as people are raising their paddles to give more money for an auction item, or the direct appeal, the cash ask that Chuck led so well last year. And so there's that kind of energy that you have in a room of other people that I think is one of the fun parts about having a fundraising event in person. So the question becomes, when you're having a virtual event, is how do you duplicate that, right? What do you do virtually to make it feel like you're in the same room and that excitement is there? And so that's what we're focusing on. And I think we're coming up with a good plan to have a really fun event where people can feel connected to you as the host, or to you as the charity, to you as the performer. And part of that is conveying, so if you're the youth and you're setting up your event, is why is this important to you? why is sharing your voice or sharing your talent important with your community? And that's how you sell tickets. That's
Right.
how you make the virtual event come to life. It's all about you and sharing your passion and your, in our case, our mission and how we're helping youth across the state.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we're going to take a look at the costs that little Annie had, and I'm going to crank out the budget. And then we should be, having a pretty effective tool. Just want to remember,
Oh,
happy
yeah. Sorry.
birthday.
Yeah.
The Elevating Connections birthday is here. It's 5 years. And so that's what we're trying to celebrate with the
Yes.
virtual event. Love to brag that our crazy ticket ideas have helped Stacy.
Yep.
And we've raised more money than she ever had with the poetry jam. So what we tried to share in earlier classes and today I wanted to definitely get a discussion in, like, is this possible? So I hope the youth that are watching from your program and from my school, Stacy, are taken away that they can do this.
Yeah.
And then just a little fun for your event. We're still working on your virtual catering. Chef
Yeah.
Mark Capone from the Colorado Comedy Show's Virtual Event Center.
My favorite chef. Virtual
Very good. And he's pushing
Yeah.
the salads. And I think that's healthy. So don't forget,
Sure.
we donate. And I've said some thank yous. We include thank yous in our show.
Yeah.
So here you can rip this move off from my shows, find a way, a little slide, and find a way to say thanks to folks. Give them a little prize. Stacy, I got you this little cabin.
Very excited about that.
Just for whenever you want.
Yeah.
After the fundraising event, just go hang out in the cabin. These were popular last week. They're back again this week. Some sort of pumpkin macaroon Oreo stuffed cookie with
Yum.
a milk and fruit. Need some antioxidants going into the holidays. I think I looped some extra slides there, Stacy. You got some extra promotion there, free, no charge.
Excellent. Thank you.
So earlier we had talked about, and then go to the blog article, gang. There's a budget you can download and follow along with here. I'm going to cut to it on the screenshot in a moment, but first I'm just going to review. We had about $80 in ticket sales, which we thought was achievable. And then I'll just remind you of the cost. We thought the fees were about $2.19 per ticket. And so we're going to do some math there. I guess we're going to repeat the math. And then don't forget, there was a broken light bulb for $9. So we want to get total. There were 8 tickets sold at $2.19. It gives you a cost of $17 and change there. Smart light bulb is $9. So overall, $26.52 in costs. Not my job to show you how the math got done. We want to get over to the fancy spreadsheet, which is like, folks, there's other skills to learn. You can learn this through YouTube and such. But we just want to talk a little bit of business lingo here. The total ticket sales were $80. Virtual event costs were $26.52. So that total might be called a profit. $53.48. What do you think, Stacy? Do you think that looks like some legitimate math?
Legitimate math and totally doable.
Right, totally doable. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my screen, and this is going to be sort of the last piece of this. I think it's on a different computer. I work 2 computers at once.
You're very high tech, very skilled, Chuck.
I try. So we want screen 3. So 2 computers, 3 screens. And you should be looking at what hopefully is our virtual event budget.
Yep. Yeah.
First of its kind. I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah.
So, gang, I pray to God that when you access this document through my website, you're not able to change these things. You can hopefully copy and get your own version of this. The idea is so that this becomes something you can use, and we leave it for other people to use as well. So I'm going to do some math and hopefully you'll witness that, or you'll be able to see how that changes. For this show, we set a budget of $10. And let's say there were 15 tickets available, right? So while we're
Yeah.
looking at a budget, now suddenly you can see that if you sold 15 tickets at $10, there's $150 to have in revenues. And the fun thing about a budget is it lets you start taking out your costs. So this is what I do when I have a comedy show. Like, oh, okay, so what if there's potentially $150? Now, how could I take care of the cast of comedians? What if I pay the talent on the show, each of the actors on the virtual pub theater? What if I pay them $25? So I'm Annie, and I can be doing this with my spreadsheet. I can go, okay, so 5 actors at $25, that's $125. I had $150. I wonder if I'm making money. And the spreadsheet calculates your expenses, then does a little bit more math to do your revenues minus your expenses and to get to a profit. Again, we're not here, I'm not here to teach you spreadsheets or, business math on an in-depth level. This should be basic enough. Stacy, have I lost people, or are we at, this is survivable? You can kind of watch this video, Google some more, learn some more, and get to learning how to use a tool like this virtual event budget. What do you think, Stacy? Am I crazy?
Oh, yeah. No, you're not crazy. And I think it's very doable. And yeah, it's a basic budget. And that's the point of the class. You can stop and look at it. You can stop the video and look at it a little bit more if you have questions about it. And then, like you said, do some Googling. But this is very, very doable.
Right. And then this is the part I
Profit
like,
and loss,
Stacy.
anybody can.
I don't think we've lost anybody yet. And
No.
so here's something I did, Stacy. I built in a way to calculate my 10% donation to you. So I'm able to use this every time I have a new show. I can resave, make a copy. When I get a booking, there was a lead that just came in, at 5:18 p.m. today. Am I available for a corporate event? On goes the bidding process. But one of the things I do, if we get to the next level in the sale, is I start running a budget. So I pop out a spreadsheet like this and go, what do I got to charge this person in order to make some money? So just to get over to this little budget, Stacy, this one is based on the numbers we've been talking about. So as you click through the article, which, is a sore spot as of 6 minutes before we went live, but should be fixed thanks to the kind people at GoDaddy and an intense phone call later tonight. Here's what I did, Stacy, and I want to sort of preview next week and find out and get you, show you where we're going to wrap up with. The reason why I tracked earlier new customers and returning customers is this year I've learned how to do, sorry, YouTubers, I haven't been spotlighting me, and I've been spotlighting Stacy the whole time. So oftentimes you've had a beautiful view of Stacy paying attention really well. It might help if that's me chatting. So one of the biggest things I learned this year, Stacy, was how to do a customer acquisition cost. I was watching one of those shows like The Profit with that guy, and I forget his name. Emily knew him, but he's a terrific host. I like what he does. And every time he goes in to fix a business, it's like he might as well just say out loud, "You're not doing your paperwork. You don't do your paperwork." And just, what's the paperwork? You do a bunch of accounting. That's it. It used to be more difficult for me. Now I get it done in just a little bit. And now I'm at the point where I'm learning, like, after we do our ticket sales, how to do something so simple like, or a little more complex, like customer acquisition costs. And that, Stacy, is located in this other tab in the budget. So we'll go over that next week about how did I get there and such. But here's the 2 ticket sales that we sold to a new customer. Here's the 6 ticket sales to friends. This isn't even in the equation, but Stacy, when I do the comedy shows, I had VIP stuff like silly gifts we just gave away. And I charge people $25, and people pay $25 because they're like, I love your comedy and I want you to have $25. Plus we give them some special recognition. We make them feel really good, but I hear from them. They're like, I like what you're doing. I want to support the charity. I donate more if I, so people like the VIP ticket. So if you can sell a $10 ticket, think about adding a $25 ticket.
Yeah.
Then here I calculated the Eventbrite ticket fees. So this is a line I added in from the budget you saw before. It's not in this other budget. I'm switching tabs back and forth, but here it is. And you can click on a link and see this budget as an example, so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's the $17.52 in Eventbrite ticket fees. Here's the $9. I called it repairs and maintenance. By the way, in the United States, for those of you playing along, these come from the Schedule C, which is a small business tax form. So I just wrote those down on the back, so I keep track of my costs, so I can compare a Schedule C real easily. So here's the light bulb repairs and maintenance. Earlier, when I have the budget, I just put 10% of the revenues as, and I can change that percentage. But when I'm budgeting, as opposed to creating a report, I can go like, well, let me put other costs in here just in case something happens, like a broken light bulb. So this budget calculator does all the fancy math, comes away with the 5348 that we we talked about in the earlier presentation. So Stacy, I think that's about where I'm at this week. We're sort of in pre-production for the virtual pub theater battles. In terms of lesson planning, sure, we should have gone over the budget in pre-production, but I knew we could use it as an evaluation tool in post-production. I've asked you, I think we got there. This is an achievable budget that any comedian can use, download from my website for free. Kids from Stacy's program, when I see you this week at the comedy workshop, I might bring this up, that you can put on your own show and go to my website for free resources. Stacy, I really, I think we're at something very accessible to youth in your program. And for those of you following along, the idea is to just keep coming back. The blog articles will get improvements. These budgets will get improvements. We'll work on improving the metrics. We'll try to do this class again next year, but we won't have to create a budget next time. It'll be there. And we won't have to, start from scratch. We'll have these live YouTube lessons and the blog articles. Stacy, I think we're done, right? Anything else to cover? Folks know to come to the virtual pub theater battles. Thanks for coming to Comedy 101 and being a part of this. YouTube Live, we're going to say goodbye. And Stacy, I just appreciate you, and thanks for joining us on this fun little journey of creating the Comedy 101 Introduction to Virtual Events. Bye, everyone.